A single decision made in Washington, D.C. has lit a geopolitical firestorm. It's threatening to completely reshape the way we think about global trade. This isn't just about economics. It's about power, it's about ego, and it might just be about the dawn of a new world order. And it all boils down to one single number.
50%. Let that sink in for a minute. That's the number that sent shockwaves all the way from the boardrooms in New Delhi to the halls of power in Washington. It's such a massive figure that the first question on everyone's mind is why? And why on earth now?
The stakes here are just massive. We're talking about $64 billion of Indian exports that are suddenly hanging in the balance. We're talking about critical sectors. Think about garments, pharmaceuticals, jewelry, that could see their ability to compete in the U.S. market just evaporate. And that impacts millions and millions of jobs.
Okay, so let's get into it and break down what this tariff shock actually is. See, this isn't being seen as some simple trade disagreement. No, this is a major geopolitical event, and the fallout is already starting to ripple across the entire globe.
Now, the way the math works here is really important. This isn't a straightforward flat 50% tariff. It's actually an additional 25% that's been slapped right on top of the existing duties. And that's how we get to that staggering 50% figure. It's a really steep, aggressive move that seems designed to inflict maximum economic pain.
So, officially, Washington has its reasons. Of course it does. But, as with so many things in geopolitics, the official story, it might not be the whole story. To really get what's going on, we need to peel back the layers of public statements and diplomacy and take a hard look at what might be happening behind closed doors.
Okay, so the public reason is pretty clear. It's a policy disagreement. India has been buying discounted Russian oil to ensure its own energy security. But many analysts are pointing to a different trigger, something a bit more personal, a public snub, where India flat out denied claims from former President Trump that he was mediating with Pakistan. And that denial, well, it reportedly bruised his ego.
And that brings us to a really crucial point. As one geopolitical analyst put it, this whole thing is being seen by many as a personal vendetta as much as an economic tool. And that suggests that this major piece of international trade policy might be driven less by grand strategy and more by personal feelings.
But hang on. That explanation brings up a pretty huge question, a major inconsistency. If these tariffs are really about punishing countries for buying Russian oil, then why is China, the single biggest buyer of it, not facing the same thing? The analysis suggests this isn't just an accident. It's a calculated move to single out India, a rising rival.
But India is not just sitting back and taking this. Not at all. New Delhi has launched a pretty sophisticated counterplay. And this isn't some panicked reaction. It's a very calculated game of diplomatic chess.
India's strategy is hitting on multiple fronts. First, you've got National Security Advisor Ajit Doval flying to Moscow to double down on energy and defense deals. Second, Prime Minister Modi is planning a visit to China, which signals a possible warming of relations there. And then there's the boldest move of all, a surprise visit to India by President Putin himself, specifically to coordinate a response.
Now, this is where the story gets even bigger. What started out as a spat between the U.S. and India is now energizing the entire BRICS alliance. This economic pressure from Washington is basically handing this powerful bloc of nations a common enemy and a common cause.
So for anyone who needs a quick refresher, BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. We're talking about major emerging economies. And now they're finding common ground and pushing back against what they see as Western economic bullying and the use of tariffs as a weapon.
And believe me, this isn't just talk. There's a real, concrete action plan being hammered out. It includes things like a joint framework to retaliate against U.S. tariffs, a major push to trade in their own local currencies to get around the U.S. dollar, and maybe most radical of all, creating a brand new dispute system completely outside of the World Trade Organization. This is a serious, coordinated plan.
All of this, it leads to a truly monumental question about what comes next. This escalating fight has unbelievably high stakes, and the result could completely change the balance of global economic power as we know it.
So there are a few huge events that are going to decide what happens next.
Putin's visit to India could be the launchpad for a formal BRICS anti-tariff pact. Modi's trip to China could create a historic economic alliance, and the U.S. has a choice: back down or double down with even more sanctions. The whole world is basically watching to see who blinks first.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question. Are we witnessing the start of a long, painful, and damaging global trade war, or is this the messy, difficult birth of a new, multipolar economic order? One where the global South, finally united, creates a powerful new counterbalance to the West. The answer to that is going to define the next decade.